Dallas Cowboys didn't play Week 7. The good news is that gave Dak Prescott time to heal. There's the photographic evidence. No walking boot for Prescott 9 days after he suffered that calf injury. Doesn't mean he's definitely going to play on Sunday night. Doesn't mean he's going to be 100%, but no walking boot as we get closer to Week 8, Sunday Night Football, Halloween in Minnesota, Cowboys at Vikings. Before that, Week 7 awards. Michael David Smith joins us. He's got I assume that's Barry Sanders and not Billy Sims. Did Billy Sims wear 20?
Billy Sims wore 20. Len Barney, Hall of Famer, also wore 20 for the Lions. And, when Barry Sanders got his number retired, he insisted that they also honor Billy Sims and Len Barney at the same ceremony. It tells you something about Barry Sanders.
Well, that's awesome. Well, MDS, we're going to start with Offensive Player of the Week coming out of Week 7. Take it away.
Titans quarterback Ryan Tannnehill had an outstanding game against the Chiefs, completing 21 of 27 passes for 270 yards. He also ran for a touchdown. Just about the only thing that the Chiefs did well on Sunday was contain Derrick Henry, who only averaged 3 yards a carry, ended up carrying 29 times, so he had some decent yardage. But it didn't really matter that they contained Derrick Henry as well as they did, because Ryan Tannehill was just moving that offense all day. That offense is more than just Derrick Henry.
I love your pick of the Aggie great, MDS. I'm going to go with a different Texas high school product, and that's Matthew Stafford. Playing his former team, he just didn't let it affect him at all. Played very, very well, as we know. 334 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was efficient. It was really a business-like win for Stafford and those Rams. They had to overcome their special teams. Could have picked Cooper Kupp because he had a great game as well. But Matthew Stafford going against his former team, Mike, that was a big one for him to win, I know.
I'll go from Texas to Florida, the Florida native who played at South Florida, and for the Orlando Apollos of the AAF, D'Ernest Johnson, 22 carries, 146 yards, and a touchdown for the Browns. A lot of people just assumed the Browns were done, and I almost picked the Broncos to win that game. I changed my pick midstream when we were doing our picks podcast on Thursday because I realized the Browns are going to be desperate to win this game at 3-3, and I didn't know what to think about D'Ernest Johnson going into that game, but it wasn't just the offensive line. He had great vision, he had burst, he had speed, and he got better as the game went on. That's what you want in a workhorse tailback, and he was great on that final drive that iced the game and secured the 17-14 victory. So D'Ernest Johnson, and there are plenty of other guys we could have picked. I felt bad leaving off Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow is going to get his share. I don't know how much even more of an opportunity Johnson's going to have to play, so we got to give him the not trophy, not piece of paper, not cash prize that goes with the distinction of Offensive Player of the Week. All right, Defensive Player of the Week, MDS, who do you have?
I have Packers linebacker Devondre Campbell, who was kind of an afterthought free agent signing. Got a 1-year contract this summer. I don't think we paid a lot of attention to it, but he has been outstanding all season, really, but especially Sunday against Washington. He had 10 solo tackles, 2 forced fumbles. You can see right there, he was the person behind that stuff on the quarterback sneak on 4th and inches. The Packers defense looked early this season like it was going to be a major liability, but Campbell has been part of an impressive turnaround.
Well, I'm going to stick with the Rams, and I'm going to go with Jalen Ramsey. It was a tougher game than expected for the Rams, and on his 27th birthday, he made perhaps the biggest play in the game. The Rams were leading only 25-19 in the fourth quarter when he intercepted Jared Goff in the end zone, and that really stymied the last chance that the Lions had to come back. He ended up with 6 tackles, a quarterback hit, a tackle for loss, an interception, a pass defense. In other words, Jalen Ramsey really was Jalen Ramsey, Mike.
Yeah, and JPP was the JPP of old for the Buccaneers on Sunday in that 38-3 win. All the talk was about Tom Brady and something about a football that ended up, I don't know, I can't remember the details. There hasn't been much discussion about that football this week. We've overlooked that defense. They throttled the Bears, holding them to 3 points, and Jason Pierre-Paul, 2 sacks and a forced fumble against Justin Fields and company as the Buccaneers made it look easy against one of the teams that beat them last year, that Thursday night game at Soldier Field. This time around, the Buccaneers destroy the Bears. All right, Rookie of the Week time, MDS, who you got?
I got Falcons tight end Kyle Pitts, the 4th overall pick in this year's draft. he had the best game of his young career on Sunday. Had 7 catches for 163 yards, kept on making big plays, including back-to-back big catches that put the Falcons into field goal range for their game-winning kick. Pitts really looks outstanding.
Well, we've got to give the Bengals at least a little bit of love. So, Jamar Chase, you're my choice for Rookie of the Week. I would argue that he's already one of the top receivers in the league, and he's only played a handful of games. He's second receiving yards in the league with 754. He's 24th in receptions with 35. So that means he's averaging 21.5 yards per catch. He's got 6 touchdowns. Mike, he was outstanding again on Sunday against the Ravens. We're not talking about a team that has lacked defense. We're talking about the Baltimore Ravens, 201 yards and a touchdown for Jamar Chase in that game.
And the one thing, let me just rant for 30 seconds because people say, "Oh, I thought he couldn't catch." He couldn't catch. That was the issue in August. He couldn't catch, and he overcame it. And it's great that he overcame it. He told me after one of their early season games, he didn't have the right focus in the preseason games. You know, to go and play for just a little bit, you don't get as locked in as you do for a full game, and that lack of focus hurt him. He was candid about it. That's a better explanation than the football doesn't have white stripes on it, and he said that too. It's not like somebody else came up with it. He did, and it's great to see what he's doing. I'm rooting for him to keep it going. It's fun to watch. All right, for me, it's Mac Jones. His numbers weren't spectacular, 307 passing yards. That's good. They finally got a home win. That's better, but 54-13. 54-13. He's the captain of that ship. Charean, do you know the last time that the score of an NFL game was 54-13? Do you happen to know the teams that were involved and what year it was?
It must have been the Cowboys and Vikings.
1970. 54-13, and the Vikings won. Obviously, if it had gone the other way, I wouldn't have mentioned it at all. All right, Coach of the Week, MDS, who do you got?
You know, we don't often pick losing coaches. We certainly don't often pick coaches of winless teams, but Lions coach Dan Campbell coached the right way in Sunday's loss to the Rams. We had the high-risk, high-reward strategies like 2 fake punts, a surprise onside kick. Those are the things that bad teams have to do to beat good teams. They ultimately didn't win, but they played a lot more competitively against the Rams than people expected. And I give Campbell credit for competing in a year when some people thought the Lions just would not be competitive at all.
MDS, you know, when you're around people, you figure out if they can do it or not, or you think you know if they can do it or not. Dan Campbell and Rich Bisaccia are 2 guys I was around for a really long time, and I thought they would both be really good head coaches. And I think so far, I know Bisaccia is only 2 games into his career as a head coach, but I think both are showing that they can be head coaches in this league. Having said all that, my choice this week is Mike Vrabel because we had questions after 2 games this year how good the Titans were. That opening game against the Cardinals when they didn't show up at home, I mean, they just got killed in that game. And then the overtime loss to the Jets, we had questions. But in a 6-day span, they beat the Bills and they beat the Chiefs. And I think we're now talking about the Titans as one of the best teams in the AFC, Mike.
And I think they learned from that loss to the Jets. That's one of the things Tannehill told me after the game. They got to play a full game. You can't take any game for granted. You can't take any situation for granted. You got to show up every single week or you will lose. There will be no question about it. You will lose if you're not ready to go. For me, and I know he was one of our selections last week, but Zach Taylor, the Bengals coach, to go into Baltimore and do to the Ravens what they did, and they out-Ravened the Ravens by confusing that defense. You know, that defense had done a very good job of confusing offenses, most recently the Chargers. Justin Herbert said, this was a point Mike Golick made on PFT Live, that they saw things that they hadn't seen on film. Well, the Bengals did that to the Ravens. CJ Uzomah told me that after the game, and I saw something on Twitter. Somebody had found a play where earlier this year the Bengals ran a screen pass, and they used that exact same look, but this time around the ball went down the field to CJ Uzomah for one of his long touchdowns. So the Bengals with Zach Taylor, 5-2, and they get the big win with the Baltimore Ravens. And
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.